Detroit Den 313. We're back, Stephen Will, talking that Detroit Lions football. Before we get going, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button and do not forget the bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, what the heck are we talking about today?
Well, we're about a week away. This time next week, you and I will be in Detroit, mingling, maybe grabbing something to eat, something to drink, depending on what time of day it is. You know, it's draft time. We're going to be heading downtown, but we've got some more work to do before we get downtown. We got a lot more work to do. We got some more guys to talk about, more prospects today. A lot of people left this in the comments. We pay attention to what you guys say. We pay attention to what you guys want to hear. National champion Roman Wilson from the Michigan Wolverines, wide receiver. William, we know a lot about this kid. We're going to talk about how he would fit on the Detroit Lions. How do you feel?
I like Roman Wilson. I can appreciate how you put some respect on his name and drop that national champion.
Always.
He definitely is a national champion. He's definitely a big reason, I believe, why we're national champs, defending national champs. But Roman Wilson, I like him, man. I think he's underrated. That's the first thing that pops out in my mind. He's a guy that just shows up everywhere. How about the Big Ten? How about the national stage? How about against, Alabama, who was supposed to be, big brother to us, and they're gonna have their way to it with us, and shows up versus Washington, and he's talked about as like the fourth best wide receiver in the game when they're talking about Polk and McMillan and Roma Duce, and but he just gets it done. He's just a winner, man. He's just crafty. I like his game. Where do you see him fitting with the Detroit Lions?
I would like him in maybe the third round, but it would really depend on what I did in round 1 and 2. I know we don't have a fourth. I think that's the perfect fit for Roman Wilson, is that fourth round. If something happens and we acquire a fourth round pick, I think that's a perfect draft location for him. I like Roman Wilson too. And I think the reason why he's underrated is because he was kind of stuck in a Michigan offense. It's not very pass heavy. He's known as a blocking receiver, but don't get him wrong. He can catch the ball too. When you throw it to him, he's got, I've said before, I think he has some of the best hands in college football. He's made some great plays with just his hands. But I think he's just knocked a little. But I'm looking at his stats for 2023, 48 catches, knocking on the door, 800 yards, 789, 12 touchdowns though. 12 touchdowns, very productive, scoring the ball. But Michigan just runs the rock. That's what they do. I think if you put Roman Wilson on one of those teams that passes the ball 40, 50 times a game, he really would have shined. But I think he's kind of like, the wide receiver version of J.J. McCarthy. He's got the skills. He's got the abilities. It's just he was kind of in a run-heavy offense.
Steve.
William.
I think you're absolutely nuts if you think that Roman Wilson is going to be around in the fourth round.
I don't. I think third round could be his neck of the woods. I wouldn't be shocked if he's a third rounder.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's a second rounder.
Possibly.
And that's where I think it's tough, man. It is deep. It is a deep wide receiver class. So maybe I guess he could slip to the third round, but man, I could easily see him going on day 2, especially if a team thinks that he's a fit for what they do. But I can appreciate where you feel like he's gonna go, but do you feel like he has a role with the Detroit Lions and the wide receiver core that we have already?
I don't know, because I feel like we need that X wide receiver, and I don't think Roman's that kind of guy. I think he's better than what you would call a slot receiver, but when I need like a jump ball, contested ball type thing, I don't think Roman's that kind of guy. But I do like his game quite a bit. I just don't know if he is a good fit for the Lions and what we're trying to do now. I think he's a good complementary receiver. I think if you've got a team that's got that established number 1 guy, that's an X receiver that can make those big plays, throwing in a Roman Wilson would be a very nice compliment. Us, I don't think we have that real guy that we can call an X receiver just yet. I think it's going to be Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I don't know. I just don't feel like Roman Wilson is a good fit with the Lions.
So I'll say this. Upon the first, because the main reason why we're kind of talking about him today, because he just had a visit, right?
Yeah.
Just had a visit. So there's got to be some interest there. But when I first heard he had a visit, actually, I'll take it back a little bit further. When I first heard that he wasn't a guy that we were really looking at when I was looking at the visits list, when I was looking at the local pro days, and I was like, man, where's Roman Wilson at? Like, why isn't he, a bigger deal? I feel like he's kind of catching some stride, a little bit of momentum. People are talking about him a little bit. But then I thought to myself, maybe it's not really a fit. So honestly, there's so many guys that we look at, man. I look at guys nonstop. I look at film nonstop. I'm either tinkering with stuff for my high school team, or I'm tinkering stuff for this Detroit Lions stuff, or just watching guys just to watch them because it's what I love to do. And when I really started watching Roman Wilson, man, oh man, oh man, I feel like he is probably one of the most underrated players in the draft. The dude is a football guy. He's a complete football guy. Did you happen to throw that picture in the chat that I sent you?
I did not.
No worries.
I can't read minds, William. You just send me a random picture.
Yeah, that was on me. That was on me, man. I meant to say something about it, and I got sidetracked about it. But anyway, some measurables with Roman Wilson before I get into it. 5'11", 185 pounds. Ran a 4.3 940 at the combine. Didn't expect that. Didn't see it, but I'm excited for him. 10-yard split of 1.52. So a lot faster. Well, not a lot faster, but faster than some of those elite guys that we talked about and brought up on this show so far. A guy with sure hands, a guy that's more than willing to block in the run game, comes from a run-heavy scheme with the Michigan Wolverines. If you know anything about the Michigan Wolverines, you know that we showed up to run the football at your face. We didn't come to pass the ball around. We did it out of necessity. We did it to just keep defenses guessing, but that's not what we were trying to do on Saturdays. We were trying to run the ball at your face, and we did it pretty successfully with Blake Corum. You already gave his stats, so I won't give those, but I'll say this. I wrote down these things about how I feel about him. Tough, smart, crafty guy. He's able to catch the ball in traffic, and he's a guy, man, that understands the game of football. I watched some interviews, and I did some digging on him. He's a guy that really committed himself to film study. He committed himself to staying after practice and working on his game. And then when you watch the film, you watch how he leverages guys. You watch how he sits in zones, and you watch how he blocks. I think that he's one of these guys, man, that can show up next season or this coming season and be ready in the first few weeks of the season. I think he can catch strides and contribute to a team because of those things, man. He's already kind of moving around like a professional. But through digging, I found this story, and that's why I sent you the photo that I sent you. And the photo that I sent Steve earlier, it was Roman Wilson last season, not just past season, but the season before, playing against Penn State with a cast on his arm. I didn't even know about this. So he's got a cast on his arm, and he broke his arm, and still went out there and played. Caught 2 touchdowns against Penn State with a broken arm. When you're talking about toughness, when you're talking about being gritty, when you're talking about being blue collar and just doing what you need to do to be a pro player, I think that Wilson completely fits that mold. Now, where would he fit with the Detroit Lions? Man, they got tough for a second. Then I thought about it. I was like, man, to me, would he be an upgrade to Raymond?
I can see that.
Yeah, would he be an upgrade? Because he plays a lot of slot. Would he be an upgrade? And then I said to myself, man, as I'm watching this film, he's a slot guy, but he's a slot guy who could contribute on the outside. He's not going to come in and be our X receiver, but he has an ability to create separation. He has an ability to understand leverage, and he has an ability to understand concepts that defenses are putting at him. Man, could I see Roman Wilson in a bunch formation with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams?
Good night.
Man, I like that. I like that combination. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Roman Wilson, their intelligence level when it comes to football IQ and ability to be able to leverage guys or sit in zones, and then J-Mo running the roof off this thing, and then having a backside tight end and Sam Laporta, just running around. I really like that. That really sounds exciting to me. And then I also think about, man, would I label Josh Reynolds as a guy that could do some things that Roman Wilson can't when I really look at the film? And I'm like, man, I don't know that I would. Outside of just being a little bit bigger, it's not like Josh Reynolds was just going up and bodying guys, man. So then I even got crazier with it. And I'm not saying that Roman Wilson plays like this guy, but I'm just looking at the intangibles, the measurables, and what Roman Wilson can do. I started thinking about a guy that I looked at that I thought never could play X, never could play outside, and Antonio Brown, who showed me completely wrong. He went out there and he played X. He played every position from a wide receiver standpoint, inside, outside, bounced around, coming in motion, running routes off of motion, which is also something that Roman Wilson could do. And he did it with these measurables. So I just pulled him up again to have him in front of me right now. What was Antonio Brown? He was 5'10". Roman Wilson is 5'11". He was 186 pounds. Roman Wilson is 185. What did he do at the combine in Antonio Brown? He ran a 4.57 and a 1.58 split. He's bigger. He's faster. He's got more bench press reps as well. I know that it's not all about the measurables and it's about the football play, but when I turn on the film don't lie either. So I'm thinking, man, could there be a really, really, really even more underrated gem in Roman Wilson than I thought? I got some strong suspicions that this dude might come into this football league if he gets into the right situation and contribute on an even bigger scale than he has. What did he do at the Senior Bowl? Show everybody that he was the top dog there. He just shows up, plays football, and proves everybody wrong, man. I'm excited that we had a visit, and if we drafted him in the second round, I'd be overjoyed.
I'm a little mad at you, William.
Talk to me.
You didn't tell me we were going to church and you were going to preach a sermon today,
buddy. I didn't even know, man. I started getting excited about him the more and more I dug on him.
Now that I think about it, I like the Kalif Raymond thing, but I just trust Kalif Raymond. When I think of Kalif Raymond, I really think of him in the punt return and kick return game. And I know he could play receiver. I know he's made some huge plays, but I do think you're right. If you put Roman Wilson in that position, in that role, I think he is an upgrade from Kalif Raymond, just being honest. But I wouldn't want to lose Kalif Raymond either as a kick returner, punt returner. So I know we're kind of getting a little wide receiver heavy there. But I do like that thought with Roman Wilson in the slot, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, we got some guys who can get open, catch the football, and make some plays. Instead of trying to hit these long 50-yard passes, we can get guys open and get big plays in a different type of offense than most people are used to seeing. Most people are used to seeing just a quarterback chuck the ball up like Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs running under it, catching it for 50 yards. The Detroit Lions, if we get big plays, it's more than likely going to be a missed tackle, a shifty move, making a guy miss and hitting a hole. Thinking about it now, like, it's starting to do some stuff for me.
Yeah.
It's starting to do some stuff. And I want to go back to the Ohio State game this past year, because I don't even need to talk about his gameplay. His gameplay's out there. We've all seen it. He's a stud, just kind of trapped in this run-heavy offense. But what he said, the comments he made after the Michigan-Ohio State game this past year, where he kind of called out Marvin Harrison and said, if you want a receiver who's going to go out there and wear Louis Vuitton and Apple Watches during games, that's your guy, Marvin Harrison. If you want a dog like me who's going to go out and block and play football, I'm your guy. And Marvin Harrison obviously had a better stats game than him, but Roman Wilson came away with the win. Came away with a win in the Big Ten championship game, had some huge plays against Alabama, some big plays in the national championship. Like, this guy plays big football in big moments and makes plays. I would have nothing but good things to say. My thing about the third, fourth round thing is it really just depends, because this is such a loaded wide receiver class, in my opinion. There's so many. So it's really going to depend on what 32 teams decide how they want to rank these receivers and where he falls. Worst case scenario, fourth round. Best case scenario, probably somewhere in the second. But I mean, that's a huge gap. I get it. But it really just depends on what team needs are throughout the whole NFL, not just the Lions. Second round wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me one bit. But I think worst case scenario, where he's looking at a fourth round.
I'll tell you what, if Roman Wilson goes in the fourth round, I will be shocked, and I will be questioning my ability to evaluate talent. And I know that I can sit up here and say that I'm not. Nobody has hired me to evaluate talent, so I'm not trying to put my abilities on some crazy scale. But I have watched this game and been around this game my whole life. I ask a lot of questions, and I just love the game. And more times than not, I get a pretty strong understanding of what people are and what they aren't, especially when I get to lay eyeballs on them, which I got to do with Roman Wilson. It wasn't even just watching film. I got to see him live as well. So I don't know, man. I think the guy can play. I think he can really play this game. And I think that he's also a football guy who's committed to playing this game at a high level. And that's what I think is going to be the thing that makes him special. He's a winner, just like you said, with some respect on his name, national champion. I think he's going to bring that winning mentality and attitude, a willingness to sacrifice. Steve, you made that point when we were talking about Jalen Polk earlier. It doesn't necessarily have to be Batman. We'll be okay with stepping in and being Robin. He's a guy that's already said he's willing to sacrifice. He didn't jump into the transfer portal because we're a run heavy team, and he knows that if he was in a wide open offense, he could probably been 1,000-yard receiver. No,
absolutely.
He stayed committed, and he said, I want to go win a national championship with this team that I love, this team that was so gracious enough to give me a scholarship and bring me in. And he did just that and took advantage of his opportunities when he had opportunities, which were few and far between, but he still made plays. The guy still put up what do we got, 12 touchdowns? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm excited to see where he goes. Wherever he goes as a Michigan guy, I'll follow him. But if he gets drafted by the Detroit Lions, hey, even as high as in the second round, I would be like, man, I think that we got a dog. I see him going in the second or third round. If he's still on the board in the fourth round, we better be trading back in to go get him, man, immediately. Like, I can't even see a world to where we let Roman Wilson go in the fourth round. But
here's another thing. If you play wide receiver at Michigan the last, 5-7 years, you better know how to block. And Dan Campbell loves him some blocking wide receivers. I think Roman Wilson is a perfect fit in that area. And I've also, I think I said this in the beginning, I kind of got crucified last year in college football season. I tweeted something out. I said Roman Wilson probably has the best hands catching a football than Marvin Harrison Jr. And I really think he does. I don't think Roman Wilson's hands are appreciated, because I see that guy making some catches. I remember a catch against Nebraska where he literally had to moss someone, going up, catching the ball over a defender's back, pinning it, catching it. Like, he catches everything out in front of him, gets the ball, runs with it. A lot of his touchdowns were after the catch, on the run, not just, a fade route in the end zone. So he can make plays if you just get him the ball. That's another thing too, though, man, is we're going to have a lot of mouths to feed here in Detroit. If Roman Wilson's a Lion, we're going to have, there's only one football. And I'm not saying Roman Wilson's a selfish guy. He's never complained about anything. Like you said, he could have transferred, went to USC or somewhere closer to home, coming from Hawaii. He could have went somewhere out west in a West Coast offense and really shined and put up 1,400 yards. That's not his style to complain, but I will just say we only have one football here in Detroit. We have a lot of mouths to feed, 2 running backs, a top tight end, Monra St. Brown, getting Jameson Williams involved. But yeah, I think Roman Wilson would fit because he is just an ultimate team guy.
Yeah. I think even just speaking to that one football deal, man, I think we just drafted the right guys, man. What does Sam Laporta say when he gets up there at the podium? Humble dude. What does Amon-Ra St. Brown say? Humble things, man. When he's at that podium, man, just trying to help this team, just trying to be great, man, just trying to catch 100 or 200 and whatever, 11 balls or whatever it is after practice. We got hard workers. We got gritty guys. We got guys that are selfless instead of selfish. And I think that it's going to pay, because as we continue to draft guys that fit that mold, apologize, guys, that fit that mold, trying to run a business here. As we continue to draft guys that fit that mold, man, tough, gritty guys, blue collar, just trying to do their job, I think that the footballs aren't going to matter. What's going to matter is other teams trying to figure out how to game plan against us. When your game plan is predicated on stopping one of them, we give it to another one. When you plan on stopping a pass, we hand that thing off to and let the best offensive line in the league just be people movers. When you guys decide to load the box, we just throw the ball all around on Sundays. I think that we're setting ourselves up to do something special. Cannot wait to see who we draft here in a few days. And even before that, though, you know what we're about to be doing here
later tonight. Later tonight, we're going up to the NFL or the Detroit Lions jersey reveal here in just a few hours. Can't wait. I've seen some, I don't want to say leaks, but some educated guesses from some people I follow on Twitter. And some of them I hope they're right. Some of them I hope they're wrong. Some of them I really like. Some of them Stevie P won't be buying any jerseys. Let's just say that. But we will get some for our members. So that's another thing. Think about becoming
one last
a member.
Question.
Go ahead.
Do you think they're black jerseys?
Man, I don't like the black jerseys. So I'm just going to be honest.
Do you think that they're going to be black jerseys?
No, I don't. I don't like them, and I don't think they will. And just real quick, I'll say, when I picture the Detroit Lions, I picture Honolulu blue. That's the color. That's what we are. We're Honolulu blue. I love it. Let's keep that. I'm okay with the black jerseys as like an alternate. I've told you I don't really care for the grays. You could throw the black jerseys on, twice a year for a Thanksgiving or a Monday night, Sunday night game, whatever. But I don't want to see that be the everyday jersey.
I dig. Oh yeah, I definitely don't want to see it as an everyday jersey, but you know, an alternative or alternative.
Yeah, give me those Honolulu blues with some solid white lettering. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like a drastic change. I think it's just going to be like a little different of a color scheme. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy.
I think that it's going to be based off of the helmet that came out last year.
The solid blue helmet.
Mm-hmm. I think
that's not Honolulu blue though, man. You got to keep.
I think it's gonna be a little twist on that because even how they let it out last year, like it's gonna be the helmets, and then we got a new jersey coming next year though. So I felt like it was like they're gonna be flowing off of each other somehow. But I don't know.
I like our current helmets too. I don't really care for those blue helmets. Like again, I'm good with those as like an alternate. You know, twice a year, I'm good with that. But that ugly 1960s style Wish.com Lions looking guy, no, I'm okay on that.
The things that I have seen leaked is that the players pretty much as a consensus love the jersey. So,
well,
I don't know. We'll see.
I think getting those 10-figure paychecks probably helps you, swallow a jersey pill a little easier too. So,
makes sense.
All right, guys, we did a little Roman Wilson today. Tiny little teaser about the jerseys. If you're new here, leave some comments. We'll talk about it, have a little discussion, drop some names. We're getting down to less than a week, so our time's gonna be really locked into either a mock draft that we're working on or some more player profiles. So leave some comments down below. Let us know who you want to hear. Hit that like button. If you're new, stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later.
Peace.